Have you ever seen a season flip completely in a single weekend? That's precisely what happened at the 2025 Japanese Grand Prix, where Max Verstappen reclaimed his dominance in a style that left onlookers mesmerized. He wasn't just fast, he was laser-focused, deploying strategies many believed he'd abandoned after a shaky start to the year. But Verstappen's comeback wasn't the only spectacle. Lando Norris found himself in a heart-pounding moment when his McLaren veered onto the grass during a tight pit lane exit, leaving fans on the edge of their seats. Behind the scenes, whispers of newly introduced car upgrades, internal conflicts, and backdoor deals have erupted into a swirling rumour mill. Ever since the first few races of 2025, many questioned whether Max Verstappen had lost the spark that once propelled him to consecutive championships. He'd endured mechanical meltdowns, strategy blunders, and the occasional misjudged overtake. For a driver once hailed as unstoppable, stumbling along in the midfield felt uncharacteristic, almost surreal. Then came the bright lights and demanding corners of Suzuka. It was here that Verstappen reminded everyone why he's earned global respect. He snatched pole position in a breathtaking qualifying lap, weaving through the iconic sequence of S-curves with perfect precision. On race day, he made it look effortless, controlling the pace with the composure of a champion in his prime. This wasn't merely a return to form, it felt like an entirely new chapter. People are already calling it one of Verstappen's most efficient wins, pointing out how he managed every detail, from tyre wear to energy recovery, like he was playing a chess match on wheels. And yet, perhaps the most surprising thing isn't that he won, but how he secured that victory. Red Bull's last-minute car modifications may have been the final catalyst he needed to break free from this year's slump. For weeks, rumours circulated that Red Bull was secretly crafting a transformative new setup. Fans heard whispers of exotic aerodynamic tweaks and engine mapping adjustments, but few details leaked. That alone was impressive in a sport where every snippet of intel is priceless. When Suzuka arrived, so did signs of a re-engineered RB21. Cryptic remarks from engineers and team principal Christian Horner hinted at radical changes. Verstappen's car suddenly displayed an agility missing earlier in the season, prompting experts to suspect a near-complete systems overhaul. Naturally, questions followed. Were these innovations exclusive to Verstappen? Did they shortchange Yuki Tsunoda, who continued languishing outside the top 5? Some wondered if Verstappen demanded specific modifications to match his style, recalling Red Bull's history of favouring one star and occasionally stoking controversy. As the weekend went on, the extent of these upgrades became obvious. Acceleration out of slow corners stood out, and Verstappen maintained impressive consistency in longer runs, evidence of precise fine-tuning. In the midst of Verstappen's success, another story exploded out of nowhere, one involving Lando Norris, a narrow pit lane exit, and a fleeting instant that could have ended in disaster. Late in the race, both drivers dove into the pits at virtually the same moment, with Red Bull and McLaren pit crews pulling off lightning-quick tyre changes. The two cars exited in terrifying proximity, side by side. What happened next ignited a flurry of speculation. Verstappen veered just enough to secure a positional advantage, leaving Norris with nowhere to go but the grass. Only seconds later, the McLaren driver regained control and continued, but his tone over the team radio seethed with anger. Norris made it clear he thought Verstappen had backed him into a perilous corner. Moments after the race, Norris issued a pointed warning, suggesting that if such manoeuvres are allowed to slide, it's only a matter of time before someone ends up in a far more severe incident. He acknowledged Verstappen's talent, but emphasised that respecting your rivals is crucial in situations like these. The stewards reviewed the footage, but opted not to launch a formal investigation, claiming the move fell into a grey area of wheel-to-wheel aggression. Before Suzuka, McLaren soared at the top of most experts' rankings. Their early season form was a revelation, with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri consistently finishing on podiums. They seemed poised to challenge for both the drivers' and constructors' titles, overshadowing even Mercedes and Ferrari. But on this particular weekend, their pristine momentum wobbled. Norris had expected a straightforward fight with Verstappen for the win. The reality proved more complex. Despite a strong qualifying session, the McLarens couldn't match Verstappen's relentless pace. Even the slightest mistake around Suzuka's twisting layout can balloon into a catastrophic loss of time. Both Norris and Piastri discovered that the new Verstappen was operating at a higher level than usual, buoyed by his upgraded machine and fierce determination. Amid the triumphant buzz surrounding Verstappen, a persistent question arose. Where does this leave Yuki Tsunoda? For years, this team has been accused of funneling resources into the leading champion, especially during tense championship races. Now, many suspect that the second seat is once again playing second fiddle, starved of the same upgrades and performance perks that have fueled Verstappen's resurgence. An inside source hinted that the engineering squad had devoted most of its attention to Verstappen's side of the garage, going so far as to schedule extra simulator sessions exclusively for him. This deliberate tilt might be a strategic move to reclaim the Drivers' Championship, but it also breeds delicate tensions. Morale can crumble if one driver senses favoritism. Sponsors can become uneasy if they think the team is ignoring valuable talent. Team principal Christian Horner has attempted to quash these whispers, insisting Red Bull remains unified. He praised both drivers for their input during briefings and insisted any advantage Verstappen showed at Suzuka was the product of personal brilliance rather than preferential treatment. However, fans aren't convinced. They recall previous years when friction within Red Bull reached a boiling point, fueling dramatic mid-season rifts. If there's one constant in modern Formula One, it's the relentless spotlight. From online pundits to traditional sports channels, the media devoured the Norris-Verstappen dust-up, spinning theories about intense personal rivalries and cultural clashes between British and Dutch driving philosophies. Social media erupted into heated debates, with some praising Verstappen's assertiveness, while others condemned what they called excessive aggression. Fans also clashed with each other. Hashtags trended worldwide, demanding a deeper investigation into pit lane conduct and calling for stricter rules to avoid near misses. Norris's supporters argued that he was basically run off the road with no space left. Verstappen's defenders countered that real racers squeeze every millimetre of track they can, especially when a championship is on the line. Amid all this drama, another narrative brewed: the fear that the sport's governing bodies are overlooking certain risks in favour of entertainment. Commentators questioned if the race stewards were turning a blind eye to borderline driving moves to keep the show captivating. These murmurs, though quiet for now, could become louder if a future race ends in physical harm or fiery disputes in front of global cameras. Looking beyond the drama of Suzuka, the Formula One circus marches on. The next track offers a different set of challenges, long straights or tight chicanes that can drastically alter performance hierarchies. Will Red Bull retain their newfound edge, or was Suzuka merely a perfect storm of car upgrades and Verstappen's pinpoint driving? And what of McLaren? Will they bounce back with a cunning new approach, or will Norris's frustration linger, affecting his chemistry with the team? Additional undercurrents flow beneath the surface. There's talk that Mercedes is eyeing an experimental chassis redesign, while Ferrari might finally pull the trigger on a groundbreaking power unit concept rumoured for months. Even lesser-known teams sense an opportunity to close the gap if the front-runners stumble. For viewers, this uncertainty only adds to the thrill. With each passing race, alliances can shift, driver confidence can wobble, and controversies can erupt without warning. The narrative of 2025 has proven that no outcome is set in stone. A single lap can change everything, and a single rivalry can reshape the sport's future. If the tension that sparked at Suzuka is any sign, we're on the cusp of another watershed moment. All it takes is the right blend of technological brilliance and raw ambition to create legends or set the stage for heartbreak. In other words, hold on tight, because the show is just beginning.